Due to the federal and state emergency declarations, the guidance of social distancing due to COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting of the Monterey School Board is conducted in accordance to Minnesota statutes, meeting by telephone or other electronic device. Our roll call. Not many people here, so Andrew, you're here?
Yep.
Thank you. Kelly, you're here?
Yes.
Is Joe here too?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Joe. Sorry I was late. And Travis is not here, right?
No.
Okay. Discussion items. Do you want to talk about the explanation call first? Sorry.
So the call of the meeting is to have a board work session to take action on a set of proposed calendar changes and also on policy 808, the COVID-19 face covering policy. In addition, there are a couple of discussion items for considerations as we begin the start of the new school year. We have the approval of the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So
Do I have to do it all?
So moved.
Thank you for the motion.
Second.
Kelly will do the same. Thank you. Any further discussion? We'll use a roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Darren? Aye. That passes. Approval of agenda. That was what we did?
Yep.
Sorry. Roll call we did before? Other discussion items?
Yep.
Yeah,
Actually,
I got it.
okay. So the first discussion item is future board work sessions. I had an inquiry from ICS about a potential board work session where they might come and have the board and meet with the board in kind of a listening session for them where they can hear what the board's ideas are about how they want to move forward with addressing facility needs. So I had kind of penciled in on my calendar the last Monday of each month after the board retreat when said you'd like to consider being able to have the option for a work session each month. So one option would be the 31st of August, and I did check and they would be available to come out for that. Then also, they would be available the 8th through the 11th of September, or the 15th or 28th. The 15th is a Tuesday, we meet regular board meetings. On the 14th, and the 28th is the last Monday in September.
When we picked this date, there was a bunch of people that had, or not much, a couple people that had conflicts with the 31st for some reason. I don't know what it was.
Joe, did you have any conflicts with the 31st?
Yeah, I will not be able to make the 31st.
Okay.
I can do, 31st works for me. If
September?
Yeah, of August, it can work for me. I think the only day that you listed there that I won't be able to attend would be the 15th.
Well, you want to just look at the end of September, the 28th?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that far out, we can probably.
Let's do that.
Joe, would that work for you?
I'm checking here. Yeah, as of right now, that'll work.
Okay.
The 28th, okay.
Time?
6 works, 5 works, 2
6,
works.
5?
You're,
Make any difference to me?
Let's just stick to 6
Six.
is kind of a standard time.
Yep.
Sounds good.
6 works.
Okay. We will look at that.
Okay.
Okay, then the second item for discussion is the initial reading of policy 522. That's the Title IX, sex non-discrimination policy, and the grievance procedures and processes related to that. And this came about as a result of some changes that were made at the U.S. Department of Education and in their Office of Civil Rights. And it's really the first time they've really tied Title IX and sexual harassment together. It is a mandatory policy. It does require that school districts adopt it. And so we went through and we made the changes and such in here that we would need for that. And really what it does, for the most part, is it puts in some timelines. It identifies coordinators. It just takes some action such as that. This would be the first reading of that. And then also with this, we would have to provide training for staff on the new policy. Mr. Gray and I both sat through a training on this earlier this summer. And I know that Bob found it most productive. I had to drop out early for another meeting.
So what, can you point out what are the fundamental changes that we should kind of?
Okay, so primarily it pulls Title IX and sexual harassment together. Right.
Okay.
That's the biggest part of it. It just pulls that into there. Also, it makes it applicable to both students and staff.
Oh, okay.
So it's a policy that while it's housed in our student policies,
Right.
it also applies to staff members.
Okay.
Would the training be done by in-house, or would we bring in somebody to provide training to the rest
We
of the
would
staff?
probably contract for some training, and there are a lot of online trainings available for them.
I'm guessing MSBA has some of it too.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some also.
Okay.
And MSBA did put together the policy and develop guidelines for it, so it meets all of the required standards for that.
Okay.
Sounds good. And we'll, the final read or the approval will be in September.
Yes, it'll be in September meeting.
Okay.
That was the first reading.
Yes. Okay. And
3 action items.
action items. The first is the calendar changes, and we did prepare a calendar for you. The calendar both shows what would occur with moving all of the Wednesday early dismissals to Friday.
Okay.
And then also it takes the 21st and 22nd of December off as student contact days, making a 2-week Christmas break there. And that's the days that we put into, extra days we put into August to prepare for the start of the school year.
Okay. So at the end of the year, you're
Right.
in December.
Right. And this was at the request of staff.
Okay.
And actually, they provided a number of possible ways to look at it. some of them just wouldn't work out with other things that were on the calendar.
Sure.
For example, the first 2 days of the week prior to the MEA break,
Oh,
well, you don't want to take those 2 days off, then bring the staff back on Wednesday for an in-service day, and then take the next 2 days
that was
off.
on the 12th and 13th?
Right.
Okay.
So,
There wasn't room to fit them in here in August. I think at one time we talked about them being prep days for the.
they are, the days are.
Just not the student days, I got you.
Right, so we're eliminating 2 student days. There,
I think it'll be later.
the staff is using those days in August
I
for
got
preparation.
Right.
you.
And they're more in some cases, they're a little more flexible days than with others. It depends upon the building, but it gives everyone 5 days preparation for the coming year.
Okay,
So those days are in August. It's simply removed 2 days of student days. And we need to determine where to eliminate the student days from.
I got it. We need a motion then.
You wanna make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion?
How is, I mean, these extra couple days at the beginning is enough for staff? I mean, that's the general consensus.
Yeah, that gives us 5
5
days.
full days.
We are allowing some extra days for special ed teachers as well.
Okay.
Because they have to go through and completely redo IEPs
Yeah,
and such, and so,
Yeah.
we are allowing.
Yeah, well, I heard all about it.
Couple extra days there.
Okay. All right,
So,
good.
And no complaining, I haven't heard any complaining.
all right.
Did we vote on that? So,
No.
okay. Any no more, discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Thank you. Kelly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Darren is an aye. So again, it passes unanimously.
Okay.
3.2. Your reading of 808.
This is the final reading of policy 808, the COVID face covering policy.
Yep.
And this puts into board policy the terms of the governor's executive order relative to face coverings and face masks. So even if there isn't a policy, there's still the guidelines or the standards there from the executive order. When the executive order ceases to be in effect, so does this board policy. So it simply gets it out there so it's a little more.
Mirrors with the governor on it.
Right.
So is it more so just a matter of ease of communication to
Yeah.
families and
Yeah.
students and staff?
Okay. Any questions about the policy? Anybody want to make a motion to accept the policy?
Just making sure I'm skimming it again. There's no requirement. Is there a requirement for people to show some sort of medical thing not to wear? a face
Yes,
cover?
there is.
That,
So that's over and above the executive order?
No, it isn't.
It isn't, okay.
No. No, they couldn't, they can't just, on the executive order, they can't just refuse
Right.
to wear one coming in.
Has to be medical.
Yeah. So,
I'll make a motion to adopt the policy.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, so the roll call vote. Joe,
Aye.
Kelly, Andrew,
Aye.
and Darren is an aye. So that passes unanimously.
okay. Then any other items you might wish to discuss?
We talked just a little bit before the meeting about the survey. Can you give us a rough estimate of how many responses you are still waiting on?
We've gotten a good share of the responses in, and the buildings, each of the buildings are following up right now with phone calls. We're gonna have to just maybe, if each of the principals could summarize where you are with collecting your survey data. We can start maybe with Bob.
Their lanyards in general.
So we have contacted every parent and have all of the information we need, all 126 of them.
I've got to find a compromise
Thank you.
to live with.
And Bill.
Ramsey has like 52 parents left. We've made 2 phone calls to each of the remaining parents. So we continue to reach out to them. We have a significant portion who are choosing to distance learn.
What's your number on that, Bill? You know,
51 parents are choosing to distance learn, and another 7 are choosing to homeschool.
okay. John,
The middle school, we have about 60 students to reach out of the 440. I'm trying to get a hold of Rachel Cordova to contact our Hispanic families because there seems to be a large number of those that we need to get. So hopefully she can come in and make some phone calls this week. And we're sitting at about 70 students right now signed up for distance learning to start the year.
Okay.
I think it's my turn.
yeah,
We've reached out and made contact with most of our families. We are getting a rather large number. Well, comparatively speaking, we do have some that are saying that they're not ready to give us an answer yet, as they are still watching what's happening in the area and what the numbers are prior to the start of school. So we have some families that are not ready to give us a number. And we also will be using our school success coordinator to reach out to some of our Hispanic families. But we have a high percentage that are in right now. I'm trying to look up right now and give you a rough number of how many kids we have right now in distance learning, but I know we're right in that between 40 to 60 range as well.
And Bob, how many do you have that are distance?
We have 13 that have asked for distance learning. So the 6th section has become a distance learning teacher. And then there'll be 5 sections of 21 or 22 kids each in person.
So much time with our friends and families and kids. I get it, but I have to keep my eye
What
on
was it, 13?
13,
Yeah.
yeah.
Distance learning?
right.
How does dignity is high?
Dr. Heller, based on Principal Hickey's comments, I sent you a message earlier today. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it. Just for clarification, are we going to pick a certain day to look at the numbers? And is that number just on that day, or are we doing the 14-day average?
So it's a rolling 14-day total, and we've been pulling the data on Thursdays.
Okay, so Thursdays, and then you go back to 14 days of the average, and then that's the decision we make.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And we do know that there is right now a spike occurring in Chippewa County.
Right, that was my reasoning. I saw it today with Chippewa, the numbers that went off just today by itself. We would all be hybrid learning, but that's why I didn't know if we were going to go by 1 day or a 14-day average.
Yep. So, and I did just send in this morning that we had to notify the NDE with a format as to how we're doing each of our buildings. So I did send in this morning the start of the school year based on where we were on Thursday's data. But then later on today, I saw the numbers that you had alluded to, and but we'll wait until we get towards the end of the week to make a change on that, just to see what's occurring with it.
Another spike this
Yeah.
week?
It's currently spiking. About the past 3 days, we've seen steady growth.
Didn't have any growth today.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on today, so, yeah.
Just an update, the high school right now has 75 people that have chosen distance learning with hybrid learning.
What's your total students in high school?
Just north of 500. We keep having some adding in, I would say about 510. I can't give you an exact number right now because we've had some movement in and out.
Yeah, that's good.
I have one more question.
Almost all the buildings are 14, somewhere in the mid-teen percentage of people doing distances. I mean, the kindergarten is low, it's only 1 grade.
Yeah. And that's about what we saw on the survey results when we looked at them where we said it wasn't a complete sample.
Yeah.
That was about what the percentage was. It was running at that time about 14 to 18% of the respondents were indicating distance learning of the smaller samples.
Yeah. So
the numbers are really
substantiated. Yeah.
staying the same, or the percentage, the rate is staying about the same, but I think we needed to find out for sure. And then also we needed to get the information so we can start to address the technology needs.
Right. Yeah.
And when do we anticipate families will start seeing an email about the open house days that we're running in each of the buildings? They're out?
We got ours.
You did? I don't think I got one.
Well, set up your conference.
Yeah.
We got them all set up, right?
Have they, maybe I'll just ask Scott, Hickey, have all your teachers sent out those emails to cover all the principals? Have your teachers all sent out the emails to set up conferences?
I had a few that had not gotten them out. I worked with them today. They should have all been out. If anybody has not had them out, they should let me know and call the office and we will double check that. The problem is each teacher sends them out themselves, so I can't see a list of who has and who has not at this time.
The goal for Ramsey was to have them out today. I believe everybody got them out, but again, nobody's talked to me about missing the deadline. But again, I'm not able to see whether they went out or not. I'll double check that tomorrow.
Well, I'll say getting them from JMC and not getting them from the teacher is really not helpful to find them. I know that's just how it happens, but it's really not helpful.
But it would be the same way that emails have gone out about setting up parent-teacher conferences, right?
It's the exact same way, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yep, and all of the middle schools have went out. And the reason they went out into JMC was because our secretaries created them and sent them all out. So that's why they went out JMC versus from the actual teacher.
Very good.
Thank you. a shot at JMC for the year.
Oh, JFC?
It's.
I think that some of our communications with JMC has gotten better as we've gotten people accustomed to including
Signing.
their names, their contact information, so forth in there, rather than,
That helps a lot, yes. It's just, the JMC thing from a parent standpoint is not as good as it is for this. It's very, the back of the house is quite good, but front of the house for us is not great.
okay. So,
That's a whole different agenda.
other items as we move towards the start of the school year. 2 weeks from this evening, we'll have finished our first day of school, so.
And we're yet to see what it looks like.
You're happy with the way the buildings are coming together to open for those that choose to come to the buildings?
Yes, I think that our preparations are going well. Our only glitch is watching the numbers and then we don't get real concrete direction coming down from the state. I was having a conversation with Countryside, and the question they asked me was, so what's the state telling you? And I said, well, they said, we haven't gotten a lot on that, so yeah. I was kind of hoping that they had told you, because they told us you were going to help provide the direction. And so the communications is kind of lacking in there. And the agencies on the more local level are the ones that suffer because of that. But I think I've been really pleased with the willingness of, for example, our local public health to work with us and to assist us with getting things going. So.
Oh, one other question. I wanted to ask this last meeting and I forgot. Can we get an update on what options like 4th, 5th, 6th grade families are going to have on their non-school days? There was talk at one time about there being a church that we used for childcare. You know, I'm thinking those grades, those kids really are not old enough to be home alone. Can somebody give us a little?
Mr. Gray, do you want to speak to?
So we've got, right now with hybrid at the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade level, the current plan is to use the health room on those off days and hire someone to staff that to help them with their work. With them being synchronous, we're a little concerned about having them at one of the churches and having enough infrastructure for 15 to 16 kids to be online, pulling video up and down and overrunning their system so that they couldn't do it. So at our last admin meeting, Mr. Huntley brought up that we could use the health room. And right now, I think, was there 29 kids that have asked for childcare on those off days, which would be 15 each day. And that room should be big enough to be able to handle 15 at a time so that they could do their schoolwork during the day in the middle school.
Okay, so they'd be in the building, just not in the classroom. They would be
Right.
social distance far enough apart from the rest of the population and themselves. They'd have power internet so they could be working on their schoolwork. Okay.
Right.
Well, some of our neighbor districts are
Yes,
doing
that's
things
what I
different,
was-
right?
That's
Right.
what
They have
I
more
wanted.
space.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, that helps.
Notice I said that's the plan right now.
Yes, I know.
With
It's-
another 60 or so kids that talked, I think he said, if that number grows, we have to come up with a different plan. And that's, we're still debating if we're going to do tier 1 only families or if we're going to offer it to everybody. If we offer it to everybody, that number could grow rather fast, and then we'd have to look at some other option.
We do have arrangements for the utilization of a couple of churches. those are in place.
And then what's the fee? Is there a charge for those students to come? Is it called Junior Thunderhawks or what is it called?
Anyone that's a tier 1 employee, so a critical employee as defined by the Department of Health and Department of Ed, would be free of charge. Anyone that's not on that tier 1 list, we would charge through Junior Thunderhawks. And that includes if we end up with hybrid for K through 3, in which case we would have to use a couple of the area churches to house those kids on their off times.
So we're looking at, okay, I know. Then that.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, no way, we're putting so much money.
Joe, any other topics?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Roll call vote. Kelly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.